And we're back with another episode of the Lakers Fast Break podcast. It's Gerald Glassford coming right back at you here from Lakers Fast Break, Pop Culture Cosmos, Inside Sports Fantasy Football, and Game Source. We truly appreciate everyone out there listening to all great shows. And if you can, please give us that 5-star review wherever you get your podcasts. Plus, if you can like, share, subscribe, follow, or do whatever you can to support us right here at the Lakers Fast Break, including if you're watching us on YouTube, please go ahead and subscribe right below Joe today. Right there. Hit that subscribe button right there for you at the Lakers Fast Break on YouTube. Plus, you can go ahead and check us out whenever you want right there for you on our complete audio library, wherever you get your podcasts, and also as well our great friends at LakersBall.com. Go ahead and hit up Ox1947 today at LakersBall.com. Plus also as well, Laker Tom, the #1 Lakers blogger that's out there. You can go ahead and check out his latest article today at, of course, Lakerholics.com. Plus also as well, Jamie Sweet and his 5 Things articles. And he did indicate to me he could not make it tonight because he is going to be stuck on the 405. And since he's going to be there for the next 90 to 120 days, I wish him all the best. But please go ahead and check out his 5 Things articles, which he may be actually able to do while he's stuck on the 405. You can go ahead and check that out today as well at Lakerholics.com. Plus our good friends at the Hoopheads Podcast Network. And if you can support all of that, it is sincerely appreciated. Well, not too much going on for the Lakers right now, outside a little bit of this and a little bit of that as we head into the LeBron mini camp. And of course, training camp is on the horizon now. But we thought we'd bring you a little bit something different as far as a main topic for today, as far as with all the talk of Russell Westbrook. Is he going to stay? Is he going to go? Is he going to be traded? Yes or no? We thought we'd go ahead and talk about the other options for the Lakers and who might evolve as a third option. Will it be Russell Westbrook if he stays? Will it be someone like Kendrick Nunn? Will it be someone like Austin Reaves? We'll go ahead and discuss that on today's program. Plus also as well, speaking of Russell Westbrook, we got to get a little dash of more Westbrook talk. Ramona Shelbourne, she was on the Low Post the other day talking about the, I guess, reported acceptance, or that Russell Westbrook said it would be okay if he would be traded from the Lakers, but he's not accepting a buyout because he thinks it would permanently change everyone's perspective on who he is as a player. So we're going to discuss that as well. Plus the league.
He said that?
Yeah. Actually, that's the reported, what Ramona Shelbourne says behind the scenes, that's his reasoning behind why he doesn't want to become a buyout individual. So that's on the show. We'll talk about that. Plus also as well, Robert Sarver, the governor for the Pheonix Suns, was handed down a decision by the NBA, and he has been suspended for 1 year, plus told to pay fines in around $1 million. And because of the constant things he did over the years in regards to, is it $10 million? It's $10 million, yes. 1 year and $10 million. $10 million he's been told to pay out in regards to what he did. I know. That's exactly what I was going to say later on when we talk about Robert Sarver and his punishment. Was it too light? Was it too harsh? We'll talk about that because of all the things he said and did over the course of years, and dozens of people testified against him. And it looks like, again, the NBA has handed out a decision. We'll talk about that coming up on the show as well. But first, my friend, Joe Soro is here. He's in the house. Hoping everybody will go ahead and reach out to us in the chat room. Hopefully get that kick-started here in a little bit. But we want to hear everyone's thoughts out there as we describe our own thoughts on who might become the third option for the Lakers. Last year, it's pretty evident in a down year that Malik Monk was was one of the few, along with Austin Reaves, one of the few bright spots for the team. And obviously he was able to parlay that into a pretty good contract just above the mid-level exception level, and to a 2-year contract for the Sacramento Kings, so we wish him all the best. He actually did very well at times for when he was here, good scorer, and obviously was able to go ahead and parlay that into some cash. But that leads to the question, who will step up to the plate as the third option, maybe when AD or LeBron goes to the bench, or inevitably, as statistics bear out, when AD or LeBron sits out a game or two for rest or an injury. So I've got the first man up. First man indeed is here. He is Joe Soro, the man behind Ox1947 at LakersBall.com. You got to go ahead and catch him today, one of the great groups that they have there at LakersBall.com. It is Joe Soro. So, Joe, I ask you this. Going into training camp, even with Russell Westbrook, and you can still count him in because he is a player on the team, who is your thinking that about right now, as of now, before we get an exhibition and the start of the season, who might step up to the plate as the third option for the Lakers team?
It would depend on what your definition of a third guy on this team would be.
Not just score, but just someone who's going to step up and be that number three guy that we can look upon as being someone that could initiate the offense when LeBron and AD or LeBron or AD is not in the lineup. Maybe something that can go ahead and as an alternative as far as if you have them starting with them or if you have them playing alongside with them, be someone that can, the defense has to at least respect. Something like that. I mean, I know that it's pretty slim pickings, 3 through 15, but somebody's got to step up to the plate, don't they?
From a statistical standpoint, it's going to be Russell by default, Russell Westbrook. But as far as having an official third guy that's going to, let's say, put fear in a team, there aren't going to be any. It's going to be a merry-go-round of which player had a great game that day or that night.
That's exactly what I was thinking about. Whoever the hot player was for that game.
Mm-hmm. Which
so
is
you don't see anybody doing this consistently as far as.
No, I just Ramona Shelbourne's comment. Look, guys.
Here we go.
Guys like Patrick Beverley and Russell Westbrook don't change. They may change in their 40s and 50s when they see the error of their ways. Even Carmelo Anthony had to be out of the league for 2 years before he humbled himself. Could that happen? Yeah, that could happen, but it's not going to matter in terms of what's going on with the Lakers.
Would you be open to Melo possibly even returning to the team?
I don't see why you wouldn't. If he gave you some nice offensive firepower here and there, it's not going to hurt. It's just not going to help.
Yeah.
But the third option is non-existent. However, we didn't have a third option in 2020 either. It was a trade-off throughout the year. We were fortunate enough to have a cohesive unit that played good team basketball, and you had AD playing some of the best defense I've seen in years, and you had LeBron playing LeBron ball. So I think it's going to be the same setup. It's just we don't know. Well, some of us know, but we don't know what the results are going to be during the year. But we're going to find out much quicker this year than we did last year because of the strengthened schedule.
Yeah.
And what the Lakers do after this is going to be the defining moment, especially for the Rob Pelinka era. It's just him not taking a buyout because he doesn't want – that doesn't sound like Russell Westbrook. I think
well, we'll go into that in a minute as far as Russell Westbrook's reportedly saying that behind the scenes. But when it comes to an actual third individual, I know a lot of people are really high on Austin Reaves. And I even had my 88-year-old mom call me the other day. What's that guy? The guy that said he was Hillbilly Kobe? And I said, that's Austin Reaves. Oh, okay. Thank you. Click. That's all I'm here for is like information sometimes from my mom. But I know a lot of people were high on him. I'm still reluctant to say whether or not he can step it up because of the fact, was he did he play well just because he was on a bad team? Would he actually be a rotational player on, let's say, a better team? I mean, these are the questions that you're going to find out about him over the course of the next 2 years, 3 years, is actually will he be a player that can be a good rotational player for any team in the NBA. He does need to step it up shooting wise. He needs to continue his playmaking and his defensive skills, keep improving on that. So again, I ask you, could Austin Reaves be that individual?
Austin Reaves' potential is probably a 6th, 7th player on a title team.
I agree.
That's where his
top end, I think.
That's his top end. He's not as athletic as, let's say, and I'm using Alex Caruso as an example because they've come from the same area, which is these non-drafted types that have catapulted themselves in a very short amount of time. Or you could say were missed for whatever reason in the draft. Austin Reaves has a good head on his shoulder, although I did kind of get puzzled by his, I don't want to be called hillbilly this or AK whatever. I thought that was a little bit like, dude, when somebody gives you a nickname and then you start going into other stratospheres with it.
He just thought it would go into two sensitive areas. I agree with his assessment on that.
I don't think he should be thinking about stuff like that. If he doesn't like the names, I guess I get it. But Austin, unfortunately, is not going to be a difference maker for this team in a way where we're going to go from 7th or 8th seed to a 4 or 3. He's a complementary player. The only way he could jump a little bit more is if he starts hitting a 40% clip from downtown. However, because of the lack of athleticism, it does get much more difficult during the playoffs when you're trying to get the ball off. I was watching a video the other day on there was a kind of like a panel of people talking about, I think Paul Pierce was on there, one of the commentators. I didn't know who he was, but he was mentioning how the difference between the regular season and the playoffs is you have 3 feet, opening to shoot the ball during the regular season. You have 3 inches when the playoffs come. I thought that was a really good analogy because that's usually what that's why James Harden has such a difficult time being effective in the same way he is in the regular season and the playoffs, because he's not comfortable, because there's less space, there's less ability to do what he does, and they don't call fouls as much, which is pretty much what he's banked on his whole career to being effective. I'm not saying he's not talented. It's just I think he's kind of been helped a lot, like how quarterbacks are helped in the NFL, where you can't breathe on them, otherwise it's a penalty. But as a third option, the Lakers don't have a third option in terms of what that means. Does that mean, is he going to play? Is there going to be a Chris Bosh? Is there going to be a Glenn Rice? Is there going to be a Manu Ginobili or a Tony Parker? Those guys would switch off.
The offense has to cycle around somebody other than just LeBron.
Yeah, how? Our hope was that Russell Westbrook would be the guy that would kind of be, and this was my idea here. Just kind of follow me when I say this.
I'll try.
So we knew Russell Westbrook couldn't shoot. Fine. But we were assuming he was going to do some other things really well, like be available and be aggressive. Sorry, me. I thought playing with LeBron would open up some things for him where he could get some easy baskets, because LeBron's very good at finding the open guy. And this guy having the speed and having the athleticism and the mindset of being on the go, it would work. And then when the 6-minute mark in the first quarter would come, the coach sits LeBron, and then guess what? Your third option, your third star now, who can handle the ball and can run an offense, can now be the distributor. Boy, did that not work out. And
he doesn't want to do, it would make his life easier if he ran pick and rolls with LeBron, like you said, to find himself some openings. He doesn't even want to do that.
We don't have a third option, really. We don't have a third star. We have to hold our breath every time Anthony Davis pivots or sets a hard screen and hope that LeBron can play without finally hitting the wall in his 20th season. That's what we have to look forward to. And then on top of that, after you've gone 82 games, and let's just say we have some fortune there and we end up getting a 6 seed or something like that. Now our is a 20-year LeBron James and let's say that AD plays 70 games. Is the 70 game played AD going to be able to make it another 2.5 months to win a title? Those are the questions we have to ask ourselves, because we don't have that third guy or any third guys that I would constitute as a third guy. We're still praying that the first two do what they're supposed to do or exceed what they're supposed to do, because that's the only hope we have.
Jim Faison says he really misses the days of two stars like Kobe and Shaq, which we're seeing now in the 6th episode of Legacy, the true story of the LA Lakers. Thought it was an okay episode.
Those two guys were not two stars.
Well, okay.
Those two were the modern day Jordan and the modern day Wilt in their primes.
Well, I will say that if you got a chance to see the latest episode of Legacy, the true story of the LA Lakers, you got to see how the alpha males started to go ahead and mesh, or at times lack thereof. As far as the episode itself dealt with the late 90s, as far as the forming of the Shaq Kobe duo, the rest of the team starting to harbor ill feelings for Kobe because Kobe was starting to develop into a certain mindset on the court, and they were not exactly thrilled with it. The hiring of Phil Jackson, that was also highlighted, and his, burgeoning relationship at that time with Jeannie Buss, and they go into detail in regards to that. Plus, it all leads into the first championship of the three-peat. Only went into the first championship on that, as far as the return to glory for the Los Angeles Lakers for the first time in 10 years. So overall, it was a pretty good episode. Of just the years in those 90s, the 10 years, it's really hard to fluff that up. And I think Legacy is doing a pretty good job of trying to do that. It's trying to make the best out of a disappointing time in the Lakers era.
You can never really compare that era to anything. It's not fair. You had this anomaly that happened to just kind of come together at the right time, and the reason why it made it more amazing is the fact that there was a battle, there was a headbutting of a battle. No matter how much Shaq denies that he was doing it, denies the issue, and Shaq has a habit of not embellishing a story, but embellishing in the reverse way. He embellishes the truth. Am I saying that right? Look, I know what I saw. We know what we saw. He was a massive a-hole, and Kobe to some degree as well. And it cost the Lakers probably 2 or 3 titles because of it. So I blame them both. I do blame them both. I don't blame just Shaq. But there was rift there, and the fact that they had a rift, they had this little Cold War going on, and they still three-peated. That's kind of what shows you how amazing they were, and how amazing the guys around them were. Guys like Rick Fox, Horace Grant, Robert Horry, Derek Fisher. These guys were as professional as you could be in an environment like that, and still came through and still never said anything bad about anyone. I mean, even during the episode, Rick Fox, sorry if you guys are having this. I'm going to just give this little small tidbit. I don't want it to be a spoiler, or if you want to just mute me for a minute. Rick Fox stood up at one point, and they said that he was getting teary-eyed because he was so frustrated from this issue that Kobe was having and all this stuff going on. And when someone gets so angry to the point where they're tearing up, the reason why I believe Rick was tearing up and frustrated was, this is a man who turned down at that time, which was a lot of money, $20 million in 1997 from the Cleveland Cavaliers to take the minimum for, I believe, 3 years or 2 years to play with the Lakers. Now, he was rewarded by Dr. Buss eventually, but the fact that he risked that much money at that time, it would probably be the equivalent of a $60, $70 million contract now, at the very least. Imagine sacrificing that and then coming to a team knowing you're going to be good, knowing you've got all the talent in the world to be champions. You came here to be a champion. You came here to hopefully enhance your entertainment value in another position that you want to be in after basketball. And you got these two guys that are totally screwing it up because they can't get along. You know, one says it's my team, the other says it's his team. I mean, it's childish stuff. So there is some of that frustration where you're like, ugh! And in all that, even with all that, you still had a team that ended up three-peating. That's how special that team was. And then fast forward to now, I don't think it's ever fair to compare. I know I even talked to somebody about this today about comparing how the NBA was then and now. I'm like, guys, you might as well be comparing why we spend money now in this way versus you might as well say, why didn't we have internet in 1920? Like, it doesn't make any sense. It just doesn't make any sense. Don't even think about that time. That time is gone. It'll never happen. Well, Jordan didn't, jump teams. Larry Bird didn't jump teams. I'm like, they didn't have to jump teams.
I like that part when they were in the locker room and you got to hear, as far as the All-Star is concerned, on the Eastern Conference, talking smack on Kobe, especially Jordan. Jordan was talking some real smack on Kobe. So even if you watch, or even if
he
you
didn't
don't
talk smack. He was
he
just
did talk
saying,
smack.
He's like, well,
blankety blank 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 on about Kobe.
I didn't think it was. To me, I didn't interpret it as.
It sounded like older veterans.
It was more
talking
like
about the young kid who was an upstart who thought very highly of himself, and they wanted to put him in his place.
One of the best parts that you didn't see that clip is on YouTube, and whoever the cameraman was on that day, unless they spliced it with something else and tricked us. I don't think it was.
No, I don't think
but so. That clip in the locker room when Jordan's talking about Kobe, they scan and you see Penny Hardaway and the All-Stars on the East at that time, and everybody looked like scared puppies while Michael was talking.
Well, they had started it. They had put him in that right direction as far as trying to go and talk.
I don't know, man. It was an interesting environment at that time, and yes. What I got out of it was he's sitting around a bunch of scared fawns, right? These guys are all All-Stars, by the way. They're all sitting there just kind of scared or whatever. They don't want to say anything while Michael's talking, and Michael's talking about basically the guy that's already told him he's going to replace him.
Yeah.
And how there's a little bit of admiration in the tone of what he's saying. So, and maybe that's me interpreting it. I don't know. I might be wrong, but in the end, I don't like talking about the past unless I'm bringing up something that's relevant to what we're talking about. Thinking about that time is, in a lot of ways, it's kind of it sucks because you wish you could be that, and if you keep thinking about it, you start to turn into that boomer that just keeps thinking about the past. We lived it. We saw some amazing basketball. I think it had its time, and we enjoyed it. We saw some amazing basketball. As far as right now, there's a unique lull that we have. We still have a couple superstars on the team, so it could be worse. We could be, starting Julius Randle and D'Angelo Russell and Robert Sacre at center, but we're not. But it's still frustrating that we can't put something together here for LeBron and AD to have a chance at winning a title.
Well, I will say this, and if you get a chance, please go ahead and check out my interview earlier last week in regards to a great conversation I had with Stephen Leckert, one of the executive producers behind Legacy, the true story of the LA Lakers. It is worth your time. I think you should really go ahead and seek it out because it was a really great conversation. But even then, he describes, as far as the archival footage and the amazing things that he saw and some of the interviews that he talks about. And I think this episode is just indicative of that, as far as the amount of things that they did get for that period of time, which, again, was a period where they underperformed for several years as a unit together, Shaq and Kobe and everyone around them. They had a lot of talent on that team, and they should have gone a lot farther a lot sooner, but they ended up not doing so until they got Phil Jackson to put it all together. So I will say give that episode a chance.
And a lot of that was see, and that's the part where I will blame Shaq. Shaq's made it very clear that if you haven't been there, I'm not going to trust you. Which, dude, just you're Shaq. Just how about you helping the coach? This is the part where I'm going outside a little bit here, guys, and looking at it from an outside observer and really telling you how asinine that kind of thinking was. And that's the reason why Shaq probably didn't win more titles. Shaq should have won 7 or 8 titles. He was that dominant. He was more dominant than Wilt, in my opinion, because Wilt played against inferior competition. I'm sorry, Jerry West. I know I'm not saying you played against plumbers and electricians. I'm not saying that, but it's
well, the athleticism was nowhere near what it is now.
Yeah, it's not. I'm sorry, guys. It's just not. The teams, they only had 8 to 9 teams at that time.
The way you could just see the way that they dribbled, the way that they passed, the way that they played the game.
Shaq is the most dominant player to ever play in the NBA, at least from what I've seen.
It was just different. It was different.
And his game was so good because he was a extremely underrated passer out the post. I mean, beyond, the guy was one of the greats. You could say him and Duncan were the same out of the post when it came to passing. They were really good. Shaq's rebounding ability, if he really wanted to win a rebounding title every year, I think he could have. So that guy was set to win anything he wanted. But the problem was, it was this little tick in his head that sometimes he would say things and do things that just and you can understand why Kobe would get irritated. Because I really believe if Shaq wasn't a jackass a lot of the time, I really believe there wouldn't have been a rift. If Shaq sat with Kobe and said, "Look, let's make Del Harris famous. Let's make him the first let's win him a title." Like in that kind of mentality, instead of going, "Well, if you haven't won anything, why should I believe you?" Why did it take Phil Jackson to get up in your rear to win your first MVP? Did you really need that? Did you really need, he's like my dad. He's like Sergeant Harrison. Why do you need that? You're Shaquille O'Neal. You should be winning the MVP every year. You lose out in 01 because you didn't play the full season. You got injured 2 months in 2002. You didn't win the MVP that year. Shaq should have been the MVP in 01 and 02, hands down. The best era he's had is those 3 years.
Blue Magic said all 5 of those years, 2000 to 2005. I wouldn't argue with you.
Right. Well, I'm going to give 03 to Duncan because he had a ridiculous year that year. So you could argue 04 and 05, no doubt. And then Kobe should have won in 06, 08, 09, and 2010 in my book. He won in 08, but Shaq and Kobe should have. And I know that's voting, and I know it's whatever, but in the end, they sabotage themselves, and they sacrificed greatness in a way that would have probably never happened. Yeah. It would have been bigger than what anybody had ever done. Imagine if Shaq gave a crap from 97 to, let's say, 2007, right? Let's say if he was not saying dumb things like, well, if a coach hasn't done it yet, I'm not going to believe him, like stupid stuff like that. They should have won 7, 8 titles in that 10 years. They should have won. Phil Jackson, it was a lost opportunity.
Because they had some depth in those late 90 teams as far as from the guard position.
A lot of depth. Oh, my God. Yeah. They had Eddie Jones. They had Van Exel. They even had Eldon Campbell there, even though he was kind of flighty.
But as a backup center,
dude, they were stacked. Yeah. Then you got Ori. Then you got Fox, and you got swept in '98. They should have won it in '98. Yeah, they should have beat the Bulls in the finals in '98. But this whole mentality of, if you haven't won it, I'm not going to believe you. This is stupid. This is not how a professional acts.
I agree with you wholeheartedly, Jim. That this team is so much far different than the team of the early 2000s, the 99 2000 team and whatnot. I agree with you wholeheartedly on that, Jim. Also here today, joining us now, good man indeed, coming from the chat room. He is the madman behind his own great channel. You got to go ahead and check it out today. He had a great conversation with his crew the other night, so you got to go ahead and check out what he's doing on his own YouTube channel named after himself. It's John Mikaelian, YouTube star extraordinaire. Great to have you here, my friend. Always great to have you here. I wanted to go ahead and bring this back to the third option again because I know the discussion is you are really leaning towards Austin Reaves and AR-15, as you say. I will say that I am not sold on Austin Reaves, and it's not any detriment to him. It's just the fact that I'm worried that, when you play well on a bad team, does that mean you're going to go ahead and be able to translate it once you get on a good team to become a rotational player? If Kendrick Nunn is healthy, all things considered, and I know Joe has issues with that because of the mysterious nature of Kendrick Nunn's health, I still think Kendrick Nunn would be probably a better player, but you are very confident in Austin Reeves' ability, hopefully more than I am. And like I said, I'm wishing the kid all the best. I heard nothing but great things about him behind the scenes. I've spoken to Rafael Barlow, my good friend with NBA Big Board, who has actually spoken to him quite at length. So I'm hoping for the best for the kid. But tell me, do you think he'll stand up one day as the man that we can maybe count on regularly as a number 3 option for the team?
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I guess one of the things that I wanted to say was I think it has more to do with the Lakers' lack of talent for a third superstar or third star rather than has to do with Austin Reeves and honestly, I don't know if the Lakers need a third star. It'll be nice, but I think what's more important is the fact that
well, not a
AD,
star per se, just an option. Just like Malik Monk when AD or LeBron would be out of the option a lineup or sitting down, just someone that can carry the offense for you for maybe a 5-10 minute stretch.
I don't know if there's a clear option, to be honest, and I don't know if that's concerning, but I think what's more important is LeBron and AD have to stay healthy. If they're not healthy, then third, fourth option doesn't really matter. I like my chance with Austin Reeves as a third option. Russell Westbrook, he's one of my all time favorite players, but he just doesn't fit on his Lakers team. I already knew it before before he came to LA. When I heard about the rumors, I thought it was a joke. I didn't think it was actually going to come to LA, and because I'm not NBA GM or anything like that, and I knew it wouldn't be a good fit. But yeah, in terms of third option, I don't know. I don't know if there is one. I know there's a clear cut option, but to me, Austin Reeves stands out, and my concern is that we'll really see how he plays, or what if he's really talented or not this year. Because when someone plays well for the first year, it's usually because they're not getting scouted. The second year, he's going to get scouted now, so we'll see. We'll see what he's made of.
We will see what he is made of. Again, I'm hoping the best for the kid. I'm just not 100% sold that he didn't stand out on last year's team simply because it was last year's team. That's the reason why. Because there's a tendency for players in the NBA, certain players in the NBA, they do really well on bad teams, stat guys, or just players that stand out on bad teams. But once they get the opportunity to play a part in a good team, they get bumped down in the rotation for whatever reason that there is. So I'm hoping that the kid actually is going to evolve into a very good NBA player, period, with no caveats, no asterisks, no only on a bad team type of situation. So I'm hoping the best for the kid indeed. But Joe, bringing it back to you, my friend, I mean, outside of that, I mean, there's one person that we haven't mentioned at all. One person that we haven't mentioned at all, and that is Lonnie Walker IV, the guy who he gave $6 million to, who, if you talk to most analysts out there, they really do not have any confidence in him. And to me, it just seemed like, again, a lot of the deal with, yes, I know he has a relationship with Clutch, and I know that's going to be everybody's answers why he's there and he got $6 million, but he has to be someone that you have to start talking about as possibly someone who has to step up. But I'm not. Why is that? Here we go.
we would like everyone to step up. And
Well, if you're paying him that kind of money, I would hope so.
and so I'm wondering if this Lonnie Walker thing is going to be one of those things where maybe he flourishes in LA, and then we have to hear the constant "nobody believed in me" speech, which is just as lame as any other speech.
I would hope so. If that's the case, I don't mind at all.
And I want to get to that because I've always wanted to explain this. So, what do you want me to say? You want me to be Laker Tom and be optimistic because it makes you feel because it feels good, right? Okay, I get it. Laker Tom wants to feel good. I get it. Unfortunately, what makes me feel good is telling you what's going on, not what I hope happens. What I hope happens is a complete waste of my time. Lonnie Walker, the fourth, can't shoot in an area where you're coached about as good as you can get coached in the NBA. Greg Popovich, no argument there. And you can't defend. And you're not defending on a team that doesn't really have – you're not defending on a team that's being coached by Greg Popovich and with no pressure. San Antonio had zero pressure last year, right? They have no pressure. Even if it's San Antonio, even if they still support their players there, they still don't. I mean, some of their fans are pure garbage. Don't get me wrong, but that's usually towards Laker people. That's it. But to their own players, when it's a realistic situation, they're not as rabid as the Laker fans. What Laker fans will throw their own mothers off a bridge if they're playing for the Lakers and didn't play well. So, you want me to now expect Lonnie Walker IV to walk into a situation where there's already a 9 RPM heat on the team, knowing that we're in a major issue in terms of winning, major issue of our guys being available, major issue of age, all that stuff. And then you're telling me this guy's all of a sudden going to go, you know what? I'm going to answer the bell. I have to see it. And please spare me or no one believed in me. We don't believe in you right now because your stats say you stink at threes and playing defense, which is what this lousy league has turned into. So what do you want me to do? What do you want me to say? Let's hope. Okay, yeah, cool. You don't think I don't want you to be good? Of course I want you to be good. Because if you're playing well, that means my Lakers, my favorite team, are playing well. I want you to do well. But are you going to play well? Right now, I haven't seen jack squat. Who's going to be the third guy? We still got to fight. We got to wait. Who's going to be the one guy? Who's going to be one? Is it going to be LeBron again? 20th season? Is this what it's come to? We were expecting AD to be an MVP at this point on this team. And then if something went wrong, hey, we got to build around AD now, not LeBron. We're still talking about LeBron running this team. And to me, it's not, I don't know other than the word fair. It's not fair for LeBron to have that kind of responsibility on him. Granted, he's making a lot of money, but he's still in his 20th season. He was supposed to be the guy that turned into the guy that he always likes to be, the distributor, the guy that gets everybody involved, a little less hectic stuff towards the end. Let him stockpile rings. Why? Because he has his anchor in AD, which 2 years ago you could have argued was one of three of the best players in the NBA. Am I right? You could have said AD, Giannis, and Durant in 2020 or LeBron. True, right? Sure. Let's say four, definitely top four. So we went from that to now, is this guy going to play? Is this guy going to break down? Is our third option going to be on the – no, we don't have a third option. Our third option has checked out like Cam Newton checked out a few years ago. He's still talking about having respect because he doesn't want to do a buyout. The reason why he doesn't want to do a buyout is because he doesn't want to drop $1 million, $2 million, $3 million, whatever it is to get bought out.
Well, he would recoup that by whoever picks him up because he's assuming that somebody is still going to pick him up.
Who Who's going to pay him $3 million?
If he were to be waived by right now, I'm going to tell you right now, if he were to be waived right now, or if he would be traded right now and waived, John and Joe, I think right now he would be picked up for what the
For
league
$3 million?
minimum.
I wouldn't let him
No,
on my team for free.
for $1 million for the league minimum. He would be moved for $1 million, so we'd have to buy back $1 million or so, $1 or $2 million, whatever. For I would say Chicago with the problems that they're having with Lonzo Ball.
Oh, no way.
I'm gonna tell you right now.
Absolutely not. You would poison that team, that young team. With
I didn't
a couple
say
of
that they would. No, I'm not saying
No.
that they would.
I can honestly say the only team that would pick up Russell Westbrook is a dead team like Orlando that wants to sell some tickets. That's it. No one relevant would ever pick him up, even for a league minimum.
I don't know about that. I'm not liking it.
We'll never know.
Well, no, I think we will know by the end of the season.
We will never know. These guys don't have the sack to put him on the bench for good. They don't.
John, any thoughts on that?
I'd have to see it.
John,
Show me the money.
Any thoughts on that? I mean, again, I still think that there are teams that think they can go ahead and resurrect his career to at least some point and are just waiting for the day that he does get traded and waived or bought out or whatnot, even though, again, Russell Westbrook, according to Ramona Shelbourne, his behind the scenes does not want to go ahead and be bought out simply because he would be perceived by the rest of the NBA as that type of player and would never be able to get a long-term contract again, which unfortunately, news to him, I think that he will never be able to get any type of long-term contract again. But your thoughts on this? I still think there are teams out there that would be interested in at least picking him up for the minimum.
I don't know. First of all, I was waiting for Joe to get off his soapbox, and Joe, I have a lot of respect
that takes
for you.
A while.
But yeah, he sounds like a disgruntled boomer right now. He sounds like get off my lawn guy. You know that's what a prediction is. You know, your thoughts on the future.
I gotta get my paper. I gotta get my wad of paper. Hold on, John. I gotta get from like last episode. Gotta get my. Now listen here, John. I'm telling you. Go for it, my friend.
You know, I've been thinking about Russ. You know, and it's oddly enough, it's like he fired his agent for telling him what he confirmed today. You know, his agent told him, you know, it's best to stick on the Lakers. Don't get a buyout. You know, build up your value because it's not so good at NBA right now. He fired his agent, but then he says he doesn't want to get bought out because he knows that, you know, if he gets bought out, then, you know, it's pretty much, you know, show's over for him. I can't see a team that will take a chance on him. I don't know because, you know, if you're a contender, then, you know, do you really want to mess up the chemistry that you have, you know, to bring Russ in if you're a young team? You know, do you want to develop your young players, or do you want to give, you know, a lot of your talent or a lot of your minutes to Russell Westbrook? And then also, you know, if you're a team that's trying to tank, do you really want to win by bringing Westbrook in? So I don't know if he fits anywhere. If he gets bought out, or if he gets bought for minute, or if he gets signed for the minimum contract for like $1 million or $2 million, it's probably gonna be a team like Charlotte or like some team that doesn't have a clear vision like Sacramento. But I don't see a team that would sign him right now for whatever reason.
Agree with you, Blue Magic, on your assessment. You know, with all the changes that have been made, and you see the results. Why does this keep on happening? And to John and to Joe, I mean, there's a very small amount of individuals that have actually been on that buyout format where they get bought out and then they just continuously get 1 year contracts, minimum contracts. There's a small amount of people who actually have evolved beyond that. Reggie Jackson of the Clippers, because you got to remember he was bought out, and that's how he got onto the Clippers. Was that he got on a minimum and then he played his way to a regular contract. Jeff Green, who on the backside of his career was able to go ahead and be on enough teams where he finally found a good fit. So he just got recently, I think he's on the second year of a 2-year contract. So I think that's something, at least it's a very small amount of
those players can shoot. Russell Westbrook can't shoot, and he's old, and his athleticism, he's not athletic anymore. So
that's attitude sucks, which is the worst part.
Yeah, just not a good combination at all. So I at this point in time, we're just hard pressed to see what the future for Russell Westbrook is outside of something that's not going to end up being pretty.
It ain't bright, that's for sure.
Yeah,
is the
that's for
future.
sure.
This is the future.
Is that
It's
toilet
not a
paper?
good one.
Just regular glass cleaning paper.
It's not a
But
good
I
one.
know there was paper
a
for
rich
glass
one,
cleaning.
a rich one though. I'm sure he did well with his finances. He'll live a great life.
Yeah.
But as far as his basketball career from here on out, he has something to look forward to, which is the Hall of Fame. Which these days the Hall of Fame they'll probably let me in if I play a couple of games nowadays. So that's good for him. I hope he has a good life. But as far as us winning, as far as winning a title or being competitive, yeah, we don't know what the hell's going to happen here, and it doesn't look good though.
No, it doesn't look good indeed. And that's why I brought it up as far as options for the team going forward. I mean, because they got to start working out rotations here in the next couple of weeks. They're going to go into exhibition season. It's got to start looking at who is going to be able to contribute on a regular basis. So these concerns are there for the team as we go forward. But once again, it's the Lakers Fast Break. Gerald Glassford, John Mikaelian. Please go ahead and check out John Mikaelian's great channel today on YouTube. Subscribe. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button, not only for us right below Joe, but also as well for John Mikaelian's channel as well. And then, of course, Joe Soro. You can check him out at LakersBall.com. But, John, before we head on out, we've talked about Legacy, Episode 6. We've talked about what's gone as far as a possible third option. We've even talked about the comments that were made by Ramona Shelbourne in regards to the behind-the-scenes talk of Russell Westbrook. The last thing I wanted to bring up was the decision made by the NBA today in regards to Robert Sarver, the governor of the Phoenix Suns, and the assessment that there was enough wrongdoing there by Robert Sarver in regards to a lot of questionable things that he said and did during his time as governor over the years. And a lot of people have filed complaints against him in regards to that he received a $10 million fine and a 1-year suspension. Your thoughts on this? I agreed with Joe from the beginning when he was slapping on the wrist, because all this was slap on the wrist. I thought something much more substantial should have been done. Your thoughts on this Robert Sarver situation before we head on out for today?
You know what this is? The world's smallest
Love
violin.
Yep.
I mean, I don't know the guy personally, so I don't know what to say. But you know, I've heard that he's cheap. He's a dirty dude. I don't know. I don't really have enough. A lot of things to say. I wonder if this is why DeAndre Ayton didn't sign the contract, because he didn't want to stay in Phoenix for a long time. But like you guys said, slap on the wrist.
Slap on the wrist, indeed. And I just think that something more should be done. Joe, let me ask you this. Should we have seen the same type of action done for him that was done for Donald Sterling?
It would have been if there was recording of it. I think, even though it's in that realm.
I mean, there's several witnesses. There are dozens of witnesses to
Yeah,
his action.
and I think what's going to eventually happen is he's going to end up selling it. There's going to be there's going to not be a mutiny, but there's going to be players on the team that are going to not really respect him, and then no one's really going to go play for him. So it would be in his best interest to sell the team and call it a day. Sarver, I used to hear stories about Donald Sterling way before any of the bad stuff happened, and they were pretty bad. I'm talking about listening to regular radio on AM and how you would hear stories about him being a slumlord. Me being in the service industry and specifically the landscape world, construction world. That's why I don't have a lawn.
But he does have a pool, and we're all invited, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, you are. The people I detest the most are landlords. I'll get calls sometimes from tenants, and I'll find out maybe 30 seconds in about a tenant that their tenant's not owners, and my brakes stop. I said, and I've had to be blunt on the phone over the last few years. I said, look, I'm going to be honest with you. Your landlord is not going to pay diddly poo for this installation.
Yep.
They typically, these guys are cheap, and it's likely that you're calling me because your landscape looks like somebody threw up on it, right? I'll get a laugh. How did you know? And then they'll confirm it with a picture. Now, the last time I actually went out, I had some fun with this one because I hadn't had a chance. Usually I can end that discussion on the phone and not waste my time. But there was this nice person, and this is relevant to the Sarvers and the Sterlings, guys, so I'll get to my point. It's a good story. So I'm there. I arrive, very sweet lady. She's got children. If you've got kids too, that's when I really get irritated because I look at the setup and it looks like somebody threw up on the lawn, and it's really big. I mean, it looks like a piece of garbage. And you have children who like to play outside. So now I'm really just having to hold myself. Lo and behold, I get there. 2 minutes after I get there, guess who comes? The landlord. I'm speaking to the girl. He comes up, walks in. While I'm speaking to her, he interrupts while I'm speaking to her. I kind of look at him, and then I kind of act like I'm talking to both. And then I veered back to her. She asked me some questions. I start talking to her. He interrupts again. This time I couldn't let it go. I said, can you hold one moment? Let me finish speaking to her, then I'll speak to you. Finished talking to her. His dumbass went somewhere else, never saw him again. And then I ended the discussion with, look, I'm going to be honest with you. This guy ain't going to pay anything for this. You're probably best to get mulch. It's going to be hard for the kids to walk on, to play on it, but it's the only thing you're probably going to be able to afford. And I left that way. So guys like Sarver, guys like Sterling are like this guy, but in a bigger realm. These guys look at people, they look at children, families like they're garbage. And you're getting proof of it. And they look at people as nothing. It doesn't matter if he said the N-word or if it's somebody else, or if it doesn't matter. It just so happened that that's the one that they're highlighting because that's the most effective one right now, right?
Well,
but
hello.
These guys.
Well, let me just say this. Hello is disagreeing with the punishment that's out there, and I can just say this: if you have an environment at your work, Joe, or your work, John, or my work, whatever, as far as being a bad working environment for a lot of people, that's the case, and there's a lot of people constantly leaving and constantly complaining. Something needs to change.
There's a difference. So I'm going to tell Hello the difference. Okay, this is so you know. I know where he's coming from that comment, but if there's one guy that's been trying to play it easy and not a fake like a Roger Goodell is a fake piece of you know what. Adam Silver is not that guy. Adam Silver has genuinely tried to play it the right way. He's the one guy in that world of being in charge of a massive billion-dollar league that has really, from his own mouth, like there are times for things, and then the way he would explain, guys, normally we would do this, but this is an exception. And that's one thing that I always try to preach about life. Guys, there are rules. There are things that you have to do, but in life, a lot of times there are exceptions. What those are, whether they're right or wrong, that's always, you know, an interpretation of yours. But in the end, there have been, I don't even know the guy. I'm not a Pheonix Sun guy, and I even heard things about Sarver on what a piece of crap he is. And what I believe is Adam Silver is doing right now is because he's a lawyer. He knows the game. The reason why he was able to get Sterling out the other way, because there was hard, like video, audio stuff that they can use to get his butt out of there. That's why he came out like, what was it, 3 days after that came out? Boom, he's gone. And we were like, whoa. Because we were expecting we're going to give this guy a year's suspension and fine him $80 million. No, he got his ass out, right? In this case, a lot of it is transcript. You don't know the tone. You don't know this. However, I think Adam Silver knows that there's going to eventually be enough pressure from the external side where he doesn't have to deal with it as much. because it's hard to get an owner to sell. It's a lot of red tape there, right? I think public pressure is going to eventually kill Sarver, and players on the team, as well as players that would normally come to the team, are not going to go there now because of him.
I think we need to go ahead. I agree. I agree with John. I think we need to go ahead and start a GoFundMe for Jim to go ahead and get the capital together to buy out the Lakers and make some good changes indeed. So because I know
get
that
Genie and Rob out of there.
yeah, the whole organization, as I've said for months now, it needs to change. It needs to go ahead and be just a different outlook, a different direction, simply because of the fact that yes, we did win a title in 2020, but look at our record overall from 2010 after we won that championship to now in 12 seasons. It's not that great. It's what, 3 or 4 winning seasons? Is it 4?
I lost
4,
count.
yeah, 4. It's not that many winning seasons, and that's not good for the Lakers brand going forward. So, unless Lakers fans, we're not accepting of a continuously downslide unless it leads to something good. So, John, again, I mean, your thoughts on this as far as what we're talking about. Back to Robert Sarver. One last thing, I want to hear your thoughts on it. It's just, I mean, it just seems like that there's a different mentality this time around as far as Robert Sarver's content as opposed to Donald Sterling's content. I think that the the comment that was made that he just put on his credit card and gave a 20% tip because this is for a billionaire, this is nothing. I just think it's a message that says you can get away with this kind of stuff. This stuff was long term. According to the reports that was made earlier by ESPN, this was stuff that was just, notarized, dictated, and talked about and discussed over a course of years by dozens of employees. It's not just one. It's not just 2. Dozens, man. Dozens.
Yeah, this reminds me of the Dallas situation. How Mark Cuban and his whole organization had obviously Mark Cuban. I don't think he's a POS like Sarver, but
I think he even deserved a lot more punishment for what was going on there because there was a lot going under his auspices that was wrong.
Yeah, but I like how he took action. He appointed someone, a female individual to take care of the responsibilities of basically I feel like he directly addressed it. And also even though we're talking about how it's not a lot of money to a billionaire or whatever Sarver is. I bet you he's losing sleep over. I bet you he's losing sleep at night because if he's cheap as as we think he is, or at least we've heard he is. I think he's really he's really pissed off at the whatever he has to pay. And also, I think it's super ironic how Chris Paul was on the team with the Clippers, and now he's also on the Pheonix team. So if Sarver ends up having to sell a team, I think it's gonna be ironic how Chris Paul. I'm not saying Chris Paul has anything to do with this, but just just interesting how Chris Paul was on that Donald Sterling team, and he's also now on the Sarver team.
Very good words there by John Mikaelian. Please go ahead and check him out today on his channel, John Mikaelian. Go ahead and subscribe today. Joe, before we head on out, any last thoughts on what we discussed today, whether it's Robert Sarver, whether it's the Lakers and Russell Westbrook, as far as that option is concerned, a third possible option for the Lakers that could grow over the course of training camp? Any thoughts on legacy, anything at all before we head on out? I try to line him up to hit the home run.
What do you want to? What specifically do you want to know? Well, if you want to continue the Sarver talk, I think the end game for that, because that's that the Chris Paul comment's kind of interesting. I think he just had bad luck. I think he just happened to be on 2 teams with owners that are pieces of garbage. I think it's going to be interesting to see if they don't force him to sell, meaning the public, how the reaction of the team is going to be. Are they so when Sarver comes at the end of the year and they have their little banquets and they give team awards? What are they? Is everybody just going to be kind of like sitting at a table
And
Wow.
supposedly he's going to give up power for a year.
Is he going to hire his wife like Daniel Snyder did so he can show solidarity? You know,
there's
all
this
that
thing called a phone. You could just
garbage.
call. Yeah. So.
Is there? You know, this is a, folks. This is the example, guys. This is the example of why living like a fake POS. This is the end result. Because Sarver's a billionaire. He's a millionaire. He's living the life, right? Well, guys, if you're gonna be a piece of garbage, at some point it's coming to you. It's gonna come to you.
Karma.
You know, what's the money worth now? His whole life is done in terms of professional. He's always going to be known as the guy dropping this and that. I don't care that he was being mean to his employees, right? I'm sorry, but that's a, you know, if you weren't doing your job, you probably deserve to get a little tongue lashing. You know, that happens.
Well,
but what is the point
on that end? I think
what is the point? Why are you now attacking people's ethnicities and things that have nothing to do with the job? That's the issue here. No one would have balked if he was mean to his employees. But are you telling people, are you Ari Gold, basically? If you guys have ever watched Entourage, are you Ari Gold? Are you saying, you know, really, really insulting things about somebody's reproductive systems, things like that? You know, that's what I'm talking about. There's a difference. I have gotten irritated by employees before, but I'm not attacking their families and their heritage. I'm telling them, and it's not that hard, you suck at your job. Show me more. And then if they go complain, oh, he was mean to me. He said I sucked at the job. And then somebody says, Joe, why'd you say that? Well, here's the picture. Look at this. You see the difference, guys? So I'm saying this so that we categorize things the same way too much. This is not, I'm going back to Hello. Was that his name? Hello?
Yes.
He used the word woke. This is not a woke thing. It's not even close.
By the way, Hello is the greatest YouTube chat moniker.
Hello, look, Hello. This is not the same, and that's our problem in society. We keep bunching things up one side or the other. This is a completely different thing. This is just an asshole who's a piece of crap who did this. That's it. It has nothing to do with, oh, it's because of what happened in the 60s or this. It's like, I don't know why these people go that way unless there's an agenda. That's the problem, right? In this case, this is what's probably going to happen. He's been suspended and he's been fined $10 million, which is slap. But I believe Adam Silver knows public pressure is eventually going to engulf this, and he's going to sell.
I'm going to tell you right now, you've got actually a list right now of things that you got to answer before we head on out. So we're going to stay on a little bit longer because both Jim and John up there both got questions for you before we head on out. John, I'll let you go ahead and say, Jim, I've got you covered. We'll go ahead and make sure we answer your question, or actually Joe answers your question before we head on out. But John, you had a question for Joe before we head on out as well.
Yeah, Joe, tell us how you really feel on the concept of quiet quitting. You know what that is?
Quiet quitting?
Yeah.
No, I'm not familiar with that.
It's actually an oxymoron. And Joe, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's when someone does the bare minimum when it comes to their job. They don't go like the extra mile.
So now
Here we go.
This has not happened since I've been an owner of a business. I've only owned one business in my life. And the reason why I decided to own a business at some point was because I knew I couldn't work with middle management. Middle management and me don't mix because they're worried about getting replaced most of the time, and they're idiots. They don't know what the hell they're doing. And a lot of it is my fault. I'm not going to say it's not my fault. I'm abrasive. I don't really have feelings.
Really?
I'm there to do a job.
Really?
I'm there to do a job, okay? I'm there to do a job. I'm not there to make you feel good. You want this thing done the right way, I've already set this up. Are you going to listen or not? That's the way it is. So there were times when I was an operations manager, when I'd get to a point where I would tell an employee, even if you're telling me the truth, I don't believe you anymore. And that would be it. The excuses are over. Now, as an owner and at 20 years of working, now it's my fault. Even if that is if the employee makes a mistake or is an idiot, it's still my fault. I have not allowed a bad employee in my business. I have given chances to people to work, but what I do is I test the water enough to where they do a little, and if they screw that up, it's not noticeable. And then what happens is I gauge their performance off the guys that have been there with us. So usually within the first couple of days, my guys are like, no, he's not going to work. Really? You know, 2 months? You don't think it's still not going to work? He's like, no. Some quit after 2 days, some quit after 2 months. Either way, we set the table so that if something doesn't work out, we're still not we're not going to have an issue. So now, how does that pertain to running an NBA basketball team? What's puzzling, what amazes me about these hypocrites, these scumbag hypocrites, I attack hypocrisy more than I attack anything. You got a guy here who's making millions of dollars off of basketball players, and he is insulting them like they're garbage. Why? Why don't you go somewhere else where you don't have to have people who are making you money and you insult them?
The NFL.
What kind of human being is this? This is a human being issue. You know, he wasn't rapping. He wasn't saying lyrics. There's no need for it. This is the part where this is not needed. And it starts to verify those who say it's going on. And then sometimes it's not going on. Some people are kind of embellishing it for their own benefit. There's people out there that do that. But in this case, there is no embellishment. There's proof right there. You are a scumbag. Okay, why do you own an NBA basketball team? Why?
And the league was letting this happen behind the scenes for years, and they knew what was going on. Don't tell me that they had turned a blind eye or anything like that. They knew exactly what was going on. They
David
just chose
Stern,
not to act until
this
now.
This is the part that I get on. I had gotten on David Stern before we ever did this show. I used to talk about David Stern 15 years ago, and it really hit the head on. I mean, the anger with the veto wasn't so much. It was not only did you just absolutely obliterate your flagship team, you sent that player to the scummiest piece of crap owner, your buddy Donald Sterling, the guy that Jerry West talked Kobe out of not playing for. Otherwise, he would have been a Clipper in 2004. Right?
Yes.
It's you say something, oh, you're whatever. Look, man, these guys are out there. These guys are out there, and people want to make that, and they shut up, and they don't say anything. This is the problem, guys. This is the problem. It took one lady to finally say, that's it. I don't care if they call me names, which they did. They called her names. Look at this. Now how does she feel? Now she's like, you know, that lady with Harvey Weinstein. Luckily, she was from Europe. She didn't understand the American culture. She's like, dude, this guy's messing with me. I'm going to go call the cops.
You mean Donald Sterling?
Did I say Donald Sterling?
You said Harvey.
No, he's Harvey Weinstein.
Well, it's the same
That's
situation.
That's another issue.
Well, I'm using them as I'm talking about the whistleblowers, right? The people who put their neck out knowing they were going to get backlash. Look what happened. They were telling the truth. Eventually, they're going to get you. If you're a piece of crap, you're going to get caught. I don't care how much money you have. I wouldn't trade spots with Sarver right now in a billion years. I wouldn't trade spots with hardly anybody. I don't respect any of these people. Mark Cuban, you were talking about Mark Cuban? Mark Cuban is a weasel. He's always been a weasel. He's got some charm. I'm not going to say he doesn't, but he's a freaking weasel, okay? He was one of the two guys that bitched about that trade, went to Stern, him and that idiot Quicken Loans guy, Dan Gilbert, and then, what with the Lakers? Oh, okay, yeah, all right, guys. Oh, yeah, you run this kind of stuff in Dallas. I'm going to listen to you. Oh, Donald Sterling. Oh, yeah, he's a slumlord. I'm going to help him. Am I wrong?
No, I'm just gonna let John know any question that we ask
All
always
these
goes back
all
to
these
that
goody
trade,
two
the Chris
shoes,
Paul
all
trade
these,
that was made.
all
It
these
just
goody
always
two
goes back for
shoes,
Joe.
all these goody two shoes. All of them, they're wearing
All
the
comes back
ribbons
around.
and they're supporting groups and all this, right? They're all into that stuff, right? And I'm sitting there going, oh, so you're into all these, activisms and supporting all these charities, but you don't take care of that guy over there that's saying that, why are you hanging out with Magic Johnson? Who the hell would not want to hang out with Magic Johnson? What the hell kind of animal would say something like that? Magic Johnson out of all the people.
Fair enough.
Come on, man. You guys want to get real? Let's get real here. I didn't bring this up. I was sitting down working this morning. All of a sudden, I get a tweet from Shams and Woj. Are they in the same room? Like, are they just like? Are they like? All right, you go first this time. Okay, you go first. Okay,
well, remember,
all right,
you got to remember. Shams
they probably work in cubicles.
Hey, Shams, you want to send out the first one?
You got to remember, Shams.
Okay, I'm going to send out this one.
They were working with each other. Shams was an apprentice of.
That is true. That is true. It makes sense. Because the second Shams posts, Woj is like right away. And then when Woj posts first, Shams is right after it, right?
Reportedly, they don't like each other now because of the competition that is now taking place.
The weasels, the weasels will always weasel, right? When they see the competition coming, they turn into, oh, so he's trying to beat me, huh? Bunch of dorks, right? Bunch of dorks worrying about what the other guy's gonna tweet. You have any idea how asinine that sounds?
So you know how in school, one of the persons does the essay or the homework, and then gives to the person, tells them, hey, here's the assignment, but make sure you change the words around. That's that's how I feel like Woj and Shams are.
Well, I want to go before we head on out. I know that Jim Faison, who's been great in the chat room, along with Howard
Hello.
along with Jamie Sweet. Everybody out there has been great on the chat room so far. Yamu Swoot, Blue Magic. Everybody's been incredible in the chat room once again today, including us. We've all actually had a trip or two down the chat room today. Truly appreciate it, but I wanted to go ahead and make sure this question, I believe, was answered. I think this is the question Jim wanted me to ask was, since Dr. Jerry Buss's passing in 2013, the Lakers went to the dark ages of bad contracts, with draft flops, lazy stars. The only thing, and of course the dang Mozgov deals, I want to say on the draft flops, they've actually been pretty good on the drafts. I mean, a lot of players that were drafted by the Lakers are playing in the league since
especially
2013.
The second round.
Yeah, second round or late first round. The only thing is they've just never channeled it outside of channeling what they did for the Anthony Davis trade. They've never been able to keep them to the point where it helps build their team. I mean, out of the draft picks, Kuzma was the only one that really helped them on that championship roster, because you got to remember Caruso was not a draft choice.
Right,
he was
someone
that
they.
Yeah,
I equate their development, whether it's a draft pick or if it's a free agent signee. I think that's something we do have to at least give them some credit for. Mm-hmm. They have drafted well. Julius Randle was
Joey Buss.
Julius Randle was an all-star. Brandon Ingram was an all-star. D'Angelo Russell was an all-star. Lonzo Ball, unfortunately, his diet is terrible. It's probably why his body's breaking down. He's got some good skill sets, but I don't know if his body's going to hold up. It seems it's not doing it.
Could be his
You've got. I was going to mention that, but thank you, John.
You're welcome.
Because I know I don't want to give Gerald a heart attack if I go that route.
You're coming close.
Then you got Caruso, and then of course you got Jordan Clarkson. You have THT second round picks that were serviceable, very serviceable. This is good for the positions that they're drafting, and this is what it's supposed to be. The issue is you're rarely going to get a next level game changer unless you're getting like a first overall pick. They're there at second, third, and fourth, and then you get lucky with a Giannis every now and then. But Typically, it's that 1, 2, 3, which they did have 3 2s, but they screwed up that Lonzo one. They should have got Tatum.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree. But they still would have used him in the AD trade. At least they would have.
I don't think they would have.
I don't think so. Yeah.
I don't think so.
You think they would have been able to take Kuzma instead?
No, but I don't know. I don't know if that deal happens if we draft Tatum.
Or would we have won the title in 2020?
Mm-hmm. We'd have had to wait like Celtics. We'd have to kind of develop those guys.
I mean, because LeBron Tatum is a different dynamic, but it also is a different dynamic. Would have been able to.
We go another route. They would have gotten another big maybe and made it work. The Lakers, see, the thing is, and I know I'm being harsh on the Lakers, but they've always gotten the players they've wanted. You know, they really have. My issue, honestly, guys, it's the other stuff, the little things that they've been doing that bother me. It's the things that I don't like in a person's personality that I don't.
Mana from heaven.
that kind of the used car salesman stuff, the tweeting at 2 a.m. Honest to God, if Jeannie was quiet and Rob didn't make asinine comments that made no sense to what's going on, I'd probably be a little bit more sympathetic to the situation. I'd sit back and go, look, they made a bad call. Jesus Christ. But they're exasperating it with stupid talk. And that tells me more about your capability then. Why this is happening. Because you're not capable of thinking when it matters. You're not even in a normal setting. Can you handle the pressure? It's easy when you get the trade you want. It's easy when LeBron says, hey, how you guys doing? I'm coming. That's easy, especially when you didn't do anything. Magic was sitting outside the gate at 11:59. He did the work, you know? And then Magic comes out and says, somebody backstabbed me, and we're getting mad at Magic, and then a year and a half goes by and go, wait a minute. Maybe this is starting to make sense.
Much still to discuss before we hit the training camp.
Don't be a douche. Don't be a douche.
Okay, I guess you can go ahead and discuss that as well.
Can you not be a douche?
Well, I don't want to be a douche.
Well, Joe, what's a douche? Well, do you want me to line it up? Go do your research. No, not really. Go do your research. Why is this guy a douche?
Just Google it.
Why? Don't. Just be normal.
I'd rather Bing it than the points.
You sign a player. Thank you, everyone. We're happy that we have this player. We don't need a sermon. Oh, my God. The Messiah is coming down from earth. Oh, my God.
It's a miracle.
You shall be healed.
I miss Kobe at 2 a.m. in the morning. What kind of rational professional does that? Really, think about that, guys.
All right. Okay. I know. And Jeannie Buss has heard it over the course of the past few months. Everybody was on her side.
But it's not stopping, G. It's not. She just said she had to flip her story 5 times. Well, Russell Westbrook's the best player we had last year. Why would she even – well, how would that even come out? How would that even come out even when you're drunk? How? I'm not saying it. I'm not doing anything. I told you, today I'm sitting talking to a client. Oh, well, yes, we can do that. Yes, absolutely. Bring Sarver. And they show a transcript of all the stuff he said. I'm not doing anything. I didn't make him do anything. I'm commenting on it now. I'm not telling someone to go tweet at 2 a.m., crying about this, crying about that, and then telling me BS. BS? Really? This guy was your best player? No. He was the most consistent player. Wait, no. He was the most available player. No. Darvin Ham, can you say something? Yes. I'm going to change Russell Westbrook. Oh, you are. And then Ramona interviews him. I'm not taking a buyout. I don't want the public to think I'm
Well, it wasn't an interview per se on the record. It's off the record type stuff that, as far as
going off the record means anything. I know what's going on. Okay, I'm not there, but I know. You know why? The results. What did I tell you before?
Record, Joe.
The results. I'm in the results business. That's my motto. I'm in the results business. When I see the results, that tells me everything about you.
Jamie is still in the chat, posting some good stuff there. Appreciate it so much. Howard Hill as well. Thank you so much for joining us. Everybody in the chat room has been fantastic. Once again, it's the Lakers Fast Break, and yeah, he's got his wadded up paper. He's right there for you. John Mikaelian, please go ahead and check out his channel once again. Subscribe to it.
Which college coach had the paper? I can't remember. I know Tark had the towel.
Yes, Tark
Who
had the towel.
paper?
Well,
Was
quite
it
a
Jim
few.
Boeheim?
I think
No, it
Boeheim.
wasn't Jim Boeheim.
No,
Was it
it wasn't.
There was someone that used the paper.
You are right. Yes. They had like a whatever.
I can't remember. I got to find out.
I thought it was a program.
It could, whatever it was a paper, and they always had it in his hand. I can't remember who it is. I'm going to find out. We'll talk about it in the next show.
You got it indeed. But John Mikaelian, please go ahead and check him out today on YouTube. And John, any last thoughts before we head out? Because Joe's very shy on the show, so he doesn't get to say very much.
Yeah, I can tell you timid.
Look, man, people want to see it. People want to see a show. This is the job.
This is a show indeed. Again, big shout out to everyone: Greg Harris, Blue Magic, Jamie Sweet, hello, Jim Faison, Howard Hill, everybody that's been a part of today's chat in the chat room. You guys have been sensational as always. But once again, we will be back on Thursday, and hopefully you will be as well. And we get the live notifications on when we and please go ahead, subscribe so you can get the live notifications when we go on the air right here at the Lakers Fast Break Podcast. Have a good evening, everyone. Thanks for watching.